So The Smashing Machine is finally out, but is it Oscar bait? Is The Rock going to get nominated for an Oscar? Let's talk about it. So you guys know The Smashing Machine has been on my radar for quite some time. I love a good, I wouldn't say comeback story, but I love when actors go against the grain of what we're all used to. And we have Benny Safdie directing and writing The Smashing Machine based on UFC mixed martial arts aficionado Mark Kerr. Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to UFC, mixed martial arts and stuff like that, so I'm not going to be like, they got this right, they got that right. I'm very surface level, but I love a good biopic, and again, I love a good comeback story. So I think the Safdie brothers, and obviously this time around it's just Benny flying solo in the writing and director's chair, they have a reputation of bringing out performances in actors you wouldn't think had it in them. Case in point, Sandler with Uncut Gems, and even Robert Pattinson with Good Time, though I think Robert Pattinson always had that performance in him. He just needed the right project to showcase that he's just not a sparkly vampire. And when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was cast as Mark Kerr, I was very intrigued, very excited, and then we got that first glimpse of The Rock in his beautiful prosthetic makeup by Academy Award winning makeup artist Kazuhiro, along with the makeup technicians, the wig technicians. This looked great, the tattoo covering everything. So I felt like this is going to be a good starting point for The Rock's transition into doing more serious stuff, like what Dave Bautista's doing, much to the chagrin of, some of their fans. Some people don't like change, but you could tell The Rock wanted change. He wanted to do something different. That pre-existing relationship with Emily Blunt as well from Jungle Cruise, and Emily Blunt and Benny Safdie's pre-existing relationship from Oppenheimer. Everything was there. The chemistry was there. The foundation was there. A good, decent story was there as well. Mark Kerr suffered from substance abuse with painkillers back in the day. This film takes place between 97 and 2000, I believe. And then when screenings were happening at film festivals, I did a video covering the fact that Dwayne Johnson, quote unquote, got a 15-minute standing ovation, which isn't really the case. But this film was hyped up big time, especially when it came to Dwayne Johnson's performance, and you hear the murmurs of Oscar buzz, nominations. Could he win at the next Oscars? So going into this, absolutely tried to taper my expectations. Is this Oscar bait? Debatable. Is Dwayne Johnson going to get nominated for an Oscar? I don't think so, though I do think this is a great starting point for him. And he definitely gave it his all. I think this is one of his best performances in his career. Oscar worthy? We'll see. I don't think so. But the film as a whole, it's impressive, though at the same time, it's a little bit lackluster and I don't think worth the hype. So originally I was going to do my review for this last night, and I actually needed to sleep on it because the first two acts, I was trying to think how the first two acts felt to me. And also keep in mind, I am going to delve into a possible spoiler at the end, the creative choice for the end sequence of the film. But going back to the first and second act, I think this, to me, the first and second act of this film felt like when you go over to a family friend's house, they've come back from vacation or they've just got home movies of their vacation, their life, and they're showing them to you and they're excited about them. And you're sitting there thinking, what is this? This is just a bunch of scenes. There's no real cohesiveness. It's just a bunch of clips. You're on the beach and then you're somewhere else. And to me, that was the first and second act of this film. You've got so much talent going on up on screen, like, in front of the camera, behind the camera. And yet there's nothing really happening. And it was those moments between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Mark Kerr and Emily Blunt's Dawn, his partner, and then they ended up getting married, where they'd get stuck into it. They'd have an argument, and I'm like, okay, this is great. This is what I want to see. The Rock's acting potential, getting nitty gritty, getting dark, especially when it came to Mark's substance abuse that we see scattered throughout the film. And then it deviates into a lull once again. And the going doesn't really get going until the end, where something happens between Mark and Dawn. And I remember Chloe at one point was let out this abrupt, oh my God, and she's like, fucking finally, something's happening. So I wouldn't say this film is for the most part, self-indulgent from Benny Safdie. I just think narratively, there really wasn't much meat on the bone. And yet you've got all these beautiful elements, performances, actors who have never acted before. So Ryan Bader, who plays Mark Coleman, who's Mark's coach in the film, from what I can see, he has never acted in his life, and he did a damn good job. We also have Bas Rutten as Bas in the film, another coach of Mark's. You're surrounded by all this talent, not just Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, who she always delivers a great performance, and she does. I love that pre-existing relationship. I felt the chemistry because of their working relationship on Jungle Cruise. So I bought into the fact that she's the supportive girlfriend and he's kind of the loose cannon. And what I loved about Johnson's performance is it's so subdued and restrained. He's this big hulking giant, yet he's such a teddy bear. But when he goes off like a frog in a sock. And those are the moments I loved in the film. I'm like, that is great. The film looks great. It's beautifully shot. There's some wonderful long takes. There's like a one-er with Mark Kerr in an elevator, and we follow him, and we're close up, we're intimate, and it's kind of uncomfortable because he's just lost a fight. He goes up to the locker room and bursts into tears. I'm like, that's pretty damn good. If you are going to get nominated for an Oscar, it's for that scene alone, because nothing is said. It's all on Dwayne Johnson's mannerisms, facial expressions, that restraint, and then when he lets loose, he lets loose. So I do think if the script had been polished up, beefed up, and it's a biopic, things have to be dramatized, and they probably were in this film for the most part. But again, I just feel like something just felt a bit lackluster with this story. And again, we have all these other beautiful elements going on. If that story isn't there, and I've said this with other films in the past, if that glue isn't there to hold all these elements together, then it kind of loses me. But until the third act, but then we get to the third act, I'm like, where were you at the beginning of the film? Now, like I said, I am going to delve into possibly a spoiler for the end of the film, a very creative choice. So we see Mark Kerr lose a fight at the end, which I liked. I liked that it wasn't the stereotypical underdog story where you see this person or team win and they live happily ever after. He loses, he accepts that he lost, his friend won, and I liked that. It kind of went against the grain. We then cut to the real Mark Kerr at a grocery store. He's packing his SUV with his groceries, and he waves at the camera and says goodbye. And then we get the text, Mark and Dawn married, they had a kid, then they divorced, and, Mark Kerr was a pioneer. So that was a very interesting choice. It kind of reminded me of the end of Elvis, where we go, which is actually much more seamless. We transition from Austin Butler in his heavy set Elvis makeup performing, sitting down and just giving it his all, to the actual footage of Elvis performing, one of his last performances. So it kind of reminded me of that. But with Elvis, it was more seamless in that transition, whereas this is very jarring because whilst Kazuhiro did an incredible job with those prosthetics, it is quite a difference between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in his Mark Kerr makeup and Mark Kerr today. It was an interesting choice. I get what they were going for, but it was a bit of a distraction. So guys, overall, I wouldn't say The Smashing Machine is a massive letdown. I just think possibly it was a bit too overhyped for me, and you got to try and tape your expectations. I think narratively, that's where the film falls flat for me, and the momentum doesn't pick up until the third act, where I just feel like that energy of what Mark Kerr's all about, it's called The Smashing Machine. You kind of need that energy from the get-go, but it just felt like a bunch of scenes with the first and second act. But I do think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson delivers a damn impressive performance. I think this is the start of hopefully more roles like this for him. Do I think he's going to get nominated for an Oscar? I don't think so. If he does, it's probably because he's got a crackerjack publicity team and he's going to be putting himself out there. So fair enough. And I could tell he put a lot of work into it, even with the voice modulation. It was weird. I was trying to figure out how he's doing that. And it felt like his tongue was at the front of his teeth, trying to emulate how Mark Kerr's vocal pattern sounds. So again, the work was put in, and I really do appreciate that. I just think maybe Benny Safdie got a bit too self-indulgent with trying to make this possibly a bit artsy-fartsy. And I just, at the end of the day, love a good old biopic, but also doing something different. So I think this film plays it a bit too safe. I just wanted to see a bit more darkness in the film. But apart from that, you've got so many beautiful elements going on. Like, obviously, you know, Kazuhiro doing his thing, and the makeup technicians, the wig technicians as well. Like, in front, behind the camera, everyone should be commended. I definitely think give this one a go. Again, I just think it plays it a bit too safe. And with that, I'm going to be giving The Smashing Machine 3 Kazuhiros out of 5. So guys, if you do check out The Smashing Machine, drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this will get nominated for an Oscar? Do you think Dwayne will get nominated for an Oscar? At 2:15 this afternoon, I'm seeing Good Boy. Very excited. Also ready to cry. If that dog dies, we fucking riot. Love you guts. And I'll catch you in the next one.